Hey everyone, and welcome back to another roundup. Actually, lots of good stuff today. We've got a new Star Wars game on the horizon, that could be exciting. There is that Rockstar kind of broke GTA IV a bit, so there's that. But demos may be on the rise, which is super good. And we've got some incredibly good news for literally thousands of games, including old favorites. So really good stuff. Mega quick thing though, it's almost the end of the month, so if you are interested in our Patreon loot, then yeah, now's the time. There's also, of course, plus all this stuff, the Paladin pin pre-order, and then of course the prototype, or the key art from a game prototype our studio worked on earlier this month, plus even more stuff on there as well. Quite a bit really. There's also a daily briefing, of course, and early access to content, and I'm working some BTS and vlogs. So thank you for your support. With all that said, let's get into the news. With some good news that really could give a lot of old games a new lease of life. So, a new blog post from Microsoft has stated that the Series X is going to be the most compatible console ever, and that it will support thousands of games, including current Xbox One games and ones from the 360 and original Xbox that are currently compatible. Now, the blog assures us that these games will look and play better than ever before. So, the Series X is going to be able to increase the resolution of select older games, as well as double their frame rate, so that's from 30 to 60, or in some cases from 60 to 120. Some of those old games at 120 with a, if you're doing that on a 120 Hz monitor, that's going to feel like a pretty new experience, so that's really nice to see. And what's cool is that these processes are going to be carried out on the system level, so there's actually not heavy lifting required on the developer's end. Basically, it just seems like this is a free win for the consumer. Now, this is basically the same thing that Sony are doing with the PS5, but Microsoft have just explained it quite a bit better than the confusion that Sony ended up causing when they talked about this thing. So older games are still going to run, right, because this gen's architecture was improved with backwards compatibility being in mind, so that's generally just a good thing, and the newer architecture is not really any drastic revolution or change up of things, so it's not really going to cause as many issues when it comes to doing that compatibility. Now, that said, it is not guaranteed that games that are maybe more custom designed for older hardware will be able to run in a very different environment, or will naturally be able to run at the higher frame rates, stuff like that. So there probably will be a few quibbles, a few asterisks to these setups, but broadly speaking, it does seem quite good. Seems to me that the end result here is that the console gamers could be getting something that us PC people have been used to for quite some time. That feeling of upgrading your hardware and then your old games being better, because you can basically run them at better settings. And I think that is a really, really exciting thing, especially because there's loads of console exclusives that could get a big new lease of life with a system like this. Now, sadly, though, limitations mean that maybe, could we get a 60 FPS Bloodborne with consistent frame timings? Maybe not, but certainly things are looking up here. And I suppose I'd leave this topic by asking you, what are those old games that you would like to see actually get this treatment? What old games would you like to see at 1440p, 120 Hz, right? There are so many old classic games that, were maybe on the PS2 or were on the, the original Xbox, that if they were just here, really good, modern, it could be super cool. Thinking about, say, the SSX games on the Xbox One X, right? That basically run at like 60 FPS and a higher resolution, and it basically looks like a remaster. So there really could be a lot of new life sort of breathed into a lot of old games. So let me know what ones you'd be excited about, and let's move on to another super positive story. Great news, it kind of looks like demos could be back as a thing, like actual demos with gameplay and everything, and that is something that is super good for the consumer. So, GOG Summer Sale is now on, and as well as having discounts, it also has a pile of demos available to download. Some of the highlights are Destroy All Humans, System Shock, and Carrion, so pretty cool to see. And it really is encouraging. The popularity of demos has certainly tapered off in recent years. Now, Jeff Keighley has repeatedly said of his Games Festival that larger scale demos could finally be heading back to the home, and certainly it seems like he could be right. That's a really good thing. The current situation could be very much just a catalyst for audiences getting hands-on with games a bit sooner. Just between this and maybe the steady rise of cloud gaming and things like Steam implementing timed game trials, sort of the idea of just a bit of try before you buy could be back. And it does take some effort on the developer's end to do specific demos, but a cloud-driven 30-minute or 1-hour time trial, that could be be a really cool thing, especially if you're dealing with, you know, 100 GB game. Well, maybe you could stream a version of it, see roughly what it's like, and then go make that purchase and get it on your local hardware. That would be really good, really pro-consumer. Now, while we're talking about yesterday's Steam news and cloud gaming stuff, remember when the Long Dark's dev kicked up a bit of a stink over their games being played on GeForce Now without their permission? Well, turns out they wholeheartedly support the service now that it's opt-in, and their game is back online. So it seems like for them it was more of a principle thing, and now that their issues with how they were, you know, NVIDIA was doing things in principle, now that those have been resolved, they're back in. So that's what's up there, and I suppose that ultimately is a good thing for the consumer. Star Wars news, it actually looks like we may see a reveal of Star Wars Maverick on June the 2nd. Now, this comes courtesy of VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb, and it looks to be backed up by several other sources. So, EA Motive Montreal, long believed to be working on EA's next Star Wars outing, made their Hello World Twitter debut this week. Now, the timing of that was noted by Jason Schreier, who commented that someone's getting ready to announce a new game. A later tweet explicitly mentions that it will be a new Star Wars title, while a later one still links to Schreier's old Kotaku article covering Maverick. We know about Maverick comes from a recent multiplayer beta leak in PSN. Interestingly enough, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to be one of PS Plus's free games this month, which maybe could be intended to sort of whet appetites there. If Maverick is EA Motive sort of carrying on Battlefront 2's good space combat, then we could be in for a good one, because certainly Star Wars space games were pretty sweet back in the day, and if we're going to get more of that, I'd be pretty excited. So there you go, some pretty good news, and hey, if that PSN leak is accurate, then maybe we'll even see a beta soon. I suppose a quick PSA for you. So GTA IV got a new update on Steam this week that fixed a bunch of the issues that happened basically when they did the complete edition and they were moving over to the Rockstar launcher, where now the missing songs and radio stations are back in the game, but they actually appear to have broken a whole bunch of things. And if you look at the community page, it's pretty obvious. A bunch of players are reporting having saves corrupted, being forced into new games that then also crash, and problems like that. So yeah, now you know. Hopefully Rockstar fixes that soon and the GTA 4's just sort of maligned Steam store existence will actually finally have a little bit of peace. Some good CD Projekt Red news, or at least good for them. So the Witcher series has surpassed 50 million lifetime sales, and this is actually up from 40 million this time last year, with the numbers undoubtedly being bolstered by the Nintendo Switch release of Witcher 3, and then of course also the success of the Netflix show, which, as we earlier showed, spiked up their Steam players quite a bit. Yeah, so in total, The Witcher 3 sold 6 million units last year, the highest sales period since the game launched in 2015. Some of this 50 million might be down to the first two games being dirt cheap, but all the same, 50 million franchise sales is pretty darn impressive. So good job CD Projekt Red, and I guess onwards to Cyberpunk 2077. An update to Battle Royale Wars, where Respawn have confirmed that Apex Legends' new season has had the best start of any since the game launched. They have record engagement across multiple metrics even before launch, and it's very interesting. You know, I think many of us would have expected Apex to be taking a hit with Warzone's intense, immense popularity, given the amount of overlap between the two, but it actually seems like they're both doing pretty well, so maybe there is enough room in this market for at least two core gamer-focused first-person battle royales. Certainly an interesting thing, and I guess both companies are really in this for the long haul, with Apex Legends basically having its own dedicated studio now with the recent moves that were made by Respawn, and then, of course, on the Call of Duty side, Activision really making Warzone a pillar of that franchise that will be just always existing and be tying into all of their yearly releases, which certainly is a big strength for them, because each yearly release of a Call of Duty will sort of be a free shot in the arm to Warzone, right, because of just the intense tie-in between the two. Certainly an interesting situation, and certainly a hyper-competitive space where really just the amount of content that these devs are able to pump out is going to be one of the deciding factors. So I imagine that's why we're seeing new studios pop up, and I guess new workflows being implemented to actually satiate the demand of the market when it comes to more Battle Royale content. Anyway, that is it for today's news. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and yeah, with that, if you want something else to check out, well, hit that sub button, because we've got a few very interesting videos on the way soon. You can check out the Patreon if you want early access to some of those videos, as well as loot, and if you want to watch something else, well, why not our Activision deep dive? I think you'd enjoy that quite a bit. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.